Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little unusual today.
Okay.
Usually we start with a headline or a title or a bio of some famous person. But today, I actually want to start with you.
With me or with the
The
listener.
listener, yes, the person listening to this right now. I want to run a little experiment.
Okay.
And don't worry, it's not dangerous or anything, but it does require you to pause whatever multitasking you might be doing.
Unless you're driving.
Yes, of course, unless you're driving, in which case, please, eyes on the road. But if you are at your desk or washing dishes or sitting on the subway, I want you to just stop for a second.
Okay, stop. I'm playing along. I'm in.
Good. Now, simply look down.
Okay.
Look at what is directly in front of you. Look at your hands resting in your lap. Look at the texture of the desk or the coffee stain on the coaster or the fabric of your jeans, whatever is right there.
All right. I'm seeing my notes here. I see a pen that's kind of running out of ink. I see the grain of the wood on this table. It's pretty detailed when you actually stop to look.
It is, isn't it? Keep looking. Maybe reach out and touch it if you can. Feel the temperature. This specific zone, the things within your immediate reach, the things you can touch, manipulate, and experience, right this. Second neuroscientists have a name for this.
They do.
It's called peripersonal space.
Peripersonal. So around the person.
Exactly. And you can think of it as the space of the here and now.
It's the realm of what you possess.
Yes. It is the realm of possession. These are things you have. You don't need to plan to touch your nose. You don't need a strategy to pick up that pen. You just do it. It is your immediate sensory reality.
Okay. I'm grounded. I'm in the peripersonal. I'm with you.
Now, I want you to shift your focus. Lift your head. Look up. Look out the window. Look at the ceiling. Look at the horizon. Here in a city. Look at the top of a building, 3 blocks away.
Hi.
If you're inside, think about what's in the fridge in the other room.
All right. I'm looking out the window now. I'm seeing there's a plane leaving a contrail way, way out there. I'm looking at a skyscraper that I definitely can't reach from here.
Right.
Yeah.
And that space is called extrapersonal space. This is the realm of the out there.
This is the realm of possibility.
Exactly. The realm of possibility. You cannot touch that plane. You can't eat the food in the fridge without, getting up, walking, opening the door. To interact with anything in this space, you can't just be. You have to
plan. You have to expend some kind of effort.
It's the realm of things I don't have yet. And that distinction between what you have right under your nose and what you might get if you exert some effort, that is the single most important divide in the human brain.
And it sounds like a philosophical distinction, right? The present versus the future. But what we are diving into today shows that it's actually a hardwired chemical divide.
Right. It turns out the brain manages the down world, the world of enjoyment, touch, satisfaction, with one whole set of chemicals.
Yeah, the things people have heard of, like serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins.
Yeah.
The feel-good stuff.
The feel-good stuff, exactly. But it manages the up world, the world of wanting, planning, and striving with a single master molecule.
And that one molecule is the entire subject of the book we are covering today.
Which is The Molecule of More by Daniel Z. Lieberman and Michael E. Long.
And the molecule, of course, is dopamine.
Dopamine, which is a word everyone uses.
And almost everyone, I would argue, uses incorrectly.
I was just going to say that if you stop someone on the street and said, hey, what does dopamine do? I bet 9 out of 10 people are going to say something like, it's the pleasure chemical.
It's the reward you get when you win.
It's the rush you feel when you do something fun.
And that is the great myth. I mean, it is the fundamental misunderstanding that the authors of this book are really trying to correct. Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It is not the molecule of enjoyment.
Wait, okay, hold on. So when I eat a piece of, say, chocolate cake, and I feel that rush of, that's good, you're telling me that's not dopamine?
No. That feeling, that enjoyment in the moment, that is your here and now system kicking in, that's likely a mix of endorphins and other endocannabinoids. That is the experience of liking.
Liking?
Dopamine is what happened before you ate the cake.
So, the craving for it.
Yes. Dopamine is the urge that made you walk to the fridge in the first place. It's the anticipation. It's the thought, ooh, there's cake in there. Dopamine is about wanting, not about liking.
So it's the itch, not the scratch.
It is the ultimate itch. It is the chemical of more. It's the chemical that looks into that extra personal space at the horizon, at the future, and just screams, go get it.
And once you get it, once it moves from that up world to the down world,
Dopamine shuts off. Its job is done.
that seems almost cruel.
It is incredibly efficient for survival. But yes, for modern happiness, it can be a kind of torture. And that really is the journey we are going on today. We are going to trace this one single molecule through the absolute highest highs and the lowest lows of the human experience.
We're going to talk about love and why passion, almost biologically has to fade.
We'll look at addiction, which is really just what happens when this powerful survival system gets hijacked by modern substances.
We're going to get into some really, really heady stuff about creativity and madness and even politics, how your baseline dopamine levels might actually influence who you vote for.
And finally, we're going to ask the big question. In a world that is completely obsessed with more growth, more likes, more money, are we driving ourselves off a cliff? Can we survive our own biochemistry?
It's a huge topic, so let's start with the one that keeps us all up at night. Love.
The most potent and legal drug of them all.
The book breaks down love into two distinct phases, and it maps perfectly onto this up versus down split we just talked about.
Sure.
There's the dopamine phase, which we usually call passionate love.
Yeah, that initial rush. I mean, think about the early days of a relationship. The first date, the first few weeks. What is the defining characteristic of that time?
Obsession, for one. Uncertainty. A ton of excitement.
Exactly. It's the unknown. When you first meet someone, they are entirely in your extrapersonal space.
The out there.
You don't know them.
Right.
You don't have them, so to speak. They're a mystery to be solved.
And dopamine absolutely loves a mystery.
Dopamine thrives on mystery. It lives on it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a specific mechanism the authors discuss called reward prediction error. And this is it's crucial to understanding how our brains learn and get motivated.
Okay, let's unpack that. Reward prediction error. It sounds very technical, but it's actually pretty intuitive once you get it right.
Totally intuitive. Think about it this way. Your brain is, first and foremost, a prediction machine. Its main job is to map out the world so you can survive in it. So if you walk down the street and everything is exactly where you expect it to be, the sidewalk, the trees, the lamppost, your brain is pretty quiet. It's on autopilot.
Right. Zero error. Zero surprise. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to learn. But let's say one day you're walking that same boring route and you smell something amazing.
Okay.
Cinnamon. Sugar. You look up and bam, there's a brand new bakery that wasn't there yesterday.
Surprise?
That is a massive reward prediction error. Your brain predicted boring sidewalk, and what you got was delicious bakery. Reality was way better than the prediction.
And that's a dopamine trigger.
Your dopamine neurons go nuclear. They fire like crazy. This is the brain's alarm system saying, wake up, pay attention. Something new and good is here.
So I walk into this bakery, I buy a croissant, I eat it, and it's the best thing I've ever had. I'm buzzing.
You are buzzing because dopamine is literally rewriting your neural map. It is stamping this location into your memory. Go here again. This place is valuable for survival.
Okay, so I go back the next day. I buy the exact same croissant. It tastes just as good.
The taste, the sensory experience happening in the here and now is just as good. That's your H&N system. But what happens to the dopamine?
Well, I assume it fires again. I mean, I want the croissant. I went back for it.
It fires, but it fires less. Significantly less.
Why?
Because now you expected the bakery to be there. You expected the croissant to be good. The prediction error is much smaller.
It's not as big of a surprise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what happens if you go every single day for a month?
By day 30, you're probably walking in, buying the croissant, and eating it while you're checking your email, not even thinking about it.
Precisely. The dopamine firing has dropped all the way to baseline.
Yeah.
The croissant hasn't changed. The quality is the same. But it's no longer new. It's no longer a surprise. It has moved from the realm of discovery to the realm of routine.
It moved from the extrapersonal to the peripersonal.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what happens in a relationship.
It's the inevitable tragedy of passionate love, as the book puts it.
It really is.
Yeah.
When you fall in love, that person is the new bakery. Every story they tell is new. You don't know what they're going to say next. You have no idea if they like you back. It's high stakes, high uncertainty.
Which means high dopamine.
Off the charts.
We idealize them. We project all this fantasy onto them.
Of course we do, because we don't know the reality yet. Dopamine's job is to fill in the blanks with perfection. It promises that this person, this new, exciting thing, is the answer to everything.
But then, as always, time passes.
You move in together, you learn their stories, you learn how they chew their food.
You learn that they leave wet towels on the bed.
Exactly. All those little realities. They move from extrapersonal space, that shiny, perfect future, to peripersonal space, the messy, real present.
The reward prediction error hits 0.
It hits 0. And for people who are, really sensitive to that dopamine rush, this feels like a disaster. They wake up one day and they think, the spark is gone. I must have fallen out of love.
And the book says this usually happens around the 12 to 18-month mark. That's the biological shelf life of that initial fight.
That's the general timeline. And this moment is the crossroads. Every single long-term relationship hits this wall. And you have a choice.
A choice to chase the dopamine again?
Which means breaking up, finding a new mystery person, and starting that whole cycle over.
Which a lot of people do. I mean, we all know serial daters who just love the chase, but they bail as soon as it gets real.
Absolutely. Or you can make the transition to the second kind of love.
Companionate love.
Companionate love. This is the here and now love.
The love of the peripersonal space.
Yes. This is driven by a whole different set of chemicals. Oxytocin, vasopressin, endorphins. This is the deep satisfaction of having, not the frantic energy of wanting. It's the comfort of knowing someone so well that you don't need the surprise. You feel safe. You feel connected.
But here's the problem, and I think this is the source of so much relationship anxiety for people. The book argues that these two systems are, well, they're antagonistic. They actually fight each other.
They do. It's very hard to be in both states at once. Think about it. Think about the feeling of intense manic excitement, that restless energy of, I need this, I need to get this.
Okay.
Now think of the feeling of deep, warm, sleepy contentment after a big holiday meal.
Right.
You can't really feel both of those at the same time, can you?
No, not at all. One is jittery and the other is calm. So high dopamine suppresses oxytocin and high oxytocin suppresses dopamine.
Generally speaking, yes. They inhibit each other. And nature has some pretty brutal experiments that show this very clearly. Did you read the section on prairie voles?
The voles, yes. Yeah. I never thought I'd be so emotionally invested in a rodent, but here we are.
It's a classic study in neuroscience, and for good reason. So prairie voles are these little rodents that are famous in the animal kingdom for being monogamous.
Like truly monogamous.
For life. They meet a partner, they bond, and they stay together for life. They're the absolute model of companionate love.
So why? What makes them different from, say, a rat or another rodent?
It comes down to receptors. Their little brains are just packed with the receptors for oxytocin and vasopressin, the H and N, the bonding chemicals. So when they mate, these chemicals flood their brains and basically lock them onto that specific partner. It forges a bond.
Okay, so what did the scientists do to these poor, loyal voles?
Well, they blocked the receptors. They gave them a drug that chemically prevented the oxytocin from working.
Oh, no. And the loyal voles became
players, total bachelors. They would mate and then just wander off. Who's next?
Wow.
Without the H and N chemicals to anchor them in satisfaction, they were left with just a pure dopamine drive to seek more, to seek novelty.
That is just chilling. It really implies that fidelity and long-term bonding aren't just a moral choice. They're a chemical balancing act.
We are biological creatures, absolutely. And humans are so tricky because we have both of these systems firing very loudly. We have the dopamine drive of a chimpanzee seeking new mates, and we have the oxytocin drive of a prairie vole seeking a lifelong bond. We're constantly torn between the thrill of the new and the deep comfort of the known.
And nowhere is this conflict more messy than in the bedroom.
Sex is the ultimate battleground for these two chemical systems.
Because you need dopamine to get things started, right? To have that desire in the first place.
Exactly. Libido, desire, the chase, that is testosterone working hand in hand with dopamine. It's aggressive. It's objectifying in a way. It's focused on a future goal. I want that.
But once you're actually in the act...
If you stay in dopamine mode, you're in trouble.
Why?
Because dopamine's about the future. It's about planning. It's about analyzing. To actually enjoy sex, to feel the sensation, to be in the moment, you have to switch to the here and now system. You have to shut off the planner and turn on the sensor.
The book mentions these brain scans of people having orgasms.
Yes, it's fascinating. What they find is that during climax, the prefrontal cortex goes dark. It shuts down.
And that's the part of the brain responsible for what?
For control, for planning, for self-consciousness, for analyzing. It has to shut down for you to fully experience the sensation.
You literally have to lose your mind to enjoy your body.
Exactly. And this explains a very, very common problem. People who are highly dopaminergic, people who are always thinking, analyzing, strategizing, worrying about tomorrow, they often have terrible sex life.
They can't get out of their heads.
They can't make the switch. They are physically in bed, but their brain is still looking up at the future. They're analyzing their own performance or thinking about a work email or wondering if this is the best possible sexual experience they could be having right now. They are completely incapable of just feeling.
So the very chemical that promises us the ultimate pleasure,
Mm.
dopamine, is actually the thing that can prevent us from feeling it.
That is the paradox in a nutshell. Dopamine is the promise of happiness, not the happiness itself. And if you confuse the promise with the reality, you can end up in a very dark place.
Which brings us, I think, naturally to addiction.
Yes.
Yeah. This is where the distinction between wanting and liking stops being, some academic thought experiment and starts being a matter of life and death.
We tend to use those words interchangeably in everyday life, don't we?
Yeah.
I want that pizza.
Right.
Basically means I will like that pizza.
Right. They're the same
But
thing.
in the brain, they're completely different circuits
Yes.
running on different chemicals.
There's another animal experiment mentioned in the book, the one with the rats, that just completely changed how I view addiction. It's heartbreaking, but I think we need to talk about it.
It is heartbreaking, but it's so important. So researchers took a group of rats and they chemically destroyed the dopamine neurons in their brains.
So zero dopamine.
Zero capacity for wanting, zero motivation to do anything.
But could they still feel pleasure? Could they still like things?
Yes, and this is a critical part. If the researchers took a little dropper of sugar water and placed it directly on the rat's tongue, the rat would, well, it would do the rat equivalent of a smile. It would lick its lips. It would show all the physiological signs of enjoyment. The opioid system, the liking system, was fully intact.
So they like the food.
But if the researchers moved the food just a few inches away,
Yeah.
the rat wouldn't move.
They wouldn't go get it.
It would starve to death.
Yeah.
It would literally starve to death with delicious, life-sustaining food sitting 6 inches from its nose.
Wow.
Because without dopamine, it couldn't bridge that gap.
Mm.
It had no internal drive to go from here to there.
That just, it completely flips the script on how we think about addicts. We usually think, oh, that person is just chasing a high. They love the feeling of the drug so much they're willing to ruin their life for it.
And in the very beginning of an addiction, that might be true. The drug gives a huge blast of dopamine and endorphins or opioids. They want it and they like it. But over time, the brain adapts. The liking system gets burned out. Tolerance builds up. The addict stops getting high. They might even find the drug experience disgusting or painful.
So they don't even like it anymore.
They hate it.
Right.
But the dopamine system, the wanting system, that doesn't burn out. In fact, it gets hypersensitized. It screams louder and louder and louder, and it screams, you need this to survive.
So you have this absolute nightmare scenario where an addict is frantically destroying their home, stealing from their family, all to get a drug that they don't even enjoy.
That is the tragedy of addiction. They are prisoners of pure wanting. The book uses a really funny, but I think painfully accurate analogy for this. They call it the lady with the toilet paper.
I loved this one. It's so absurd, but it makes perfect sense.
So imagine a woman who has a compulsion to buy toilet paper. Every single time she goes to the store, she buys the biggest pack they have. Her pantry is full of it. Her garage is full. Her spare bedroom is just floor-to-ceiling Charmin.
She has enough for 3 lifetimes.
Exactly.
Oh.
She doesn't need any more toilet paper. She doesn't particularly enjoy having toilet paper. It's just paper. But when she's in the store and she sees that sale sign, her dopamine system kicks in. It doesn't say, enjoy this. It says, acquire. Be prepared. Guard against future scarcity.
It's not about the having, it's about the getting.
That's it. Dopamine is a hoarder. It doesn't care if the pantry is full. Its programming is for a world of scarcity, where you could never really have too much food or too many resources. But in our modern world of abundance, it just leads to this endless, joyless accumulation.
And this isn't just about drugs or toilet paper. This explains buyer's remorse, doesn't it?
Oh, universally. I think we've all felt this.
Yeah.
You see a new car or the new iPhone, and what does your brain say?
It says, if I get that, I will be a new person. I'll be organized. I'll be cool. My life will finally work.
That is dopamine projection. It's painting a perfect fantasy in the extrapersonal space. It's the lookup brain at work. So you work hard, you save your money, you finally buy the phone, you bring it home.
And for about 4 hours, it's the most amazing thing in the world. And then it's just a phone. It gets fingerprints on it. The battery dies. It's kind of annoying sometimes.
It moved from the up world to the down world. It's now in your peripersonal space. And as soon as it did, the dopamine shut off. Now you are left with the H&N reality of the object. And reality is rarely as perfect as the dopamine fantasy.
It feels like a betrayal. You promised me happiness.
Dopamine is a salesman. It works on commission. It doesn't care about customer satisfaction. Its only job is to close the deal.
Okay, so up to this point, we've really painted dopamine as this wild, impulsive, almost chaotic force. It seems like the goal would be to just repress it, right? But the book pivots here in a really important way. It says, hold on, dopamine isn't just the crazy urge. It's also the only reason you get anything done.
This is such a crucial distinction. We need to split dopamine into two different circuits. We've mostly been talking about what the book calls desire dopamine. That's the impulse, the I want it now feeling. But there's also control dopamine.
Control dopamine. Okay, so how is that different?
Let's go back to the car. Think of desired dopamine as a toddler in the back seat screaming, I want McDonald's now.
Okay, I can picture that.
It's just raw, immediate wanting. Control dopamine is the parent driving the car. The parent hears the want, but the parent has a map. The parent checks the gas gauge. The parent calculates, okay, if we stop for McDonald's now, we'll be late for grandma's house. But if we wait an hour, we can have a much better dinner there.
So control dopamine it's rational. It's the planner.
It's calculating. It takes that raw, primal energy of wanting, and it channels it into long-term planning, into strategy, into abstract thinking. It's still focused on the future. It's still a lookup chemical, but it's playing the long game.
The book uses the famous marshmallow test to explain this. And I have to say, I always thought that test was just about willpower versus desire.
It is, but what is willpower, really? When you look at it through this lens...
I always thought it was about stopping yourself, saying no.
See, but just stopping yourself is simple inhibition. Willpower, the ability to wait 15 minutes to get 2 marshmallows instead of eating one right now, is actually an act of imagination.
Explain that. That's a new take for me.
The child who eats the marshmallow immediately is dominated by their H&N system. They see the treat, they smell the treat, it's right there in their peripersonal space, so they eat it. The down brain wins.
Okay.
The child who waits. They have to use control dopamine to simulate a future reality that doesn't exist yet. They have to keep an abstract idea 2 marshmallows later, more vivid and more compelling in their mind than the real, tangible marshmallow sitting right in front of their face.
That is fascinating. So the disciplined kid isn't suppressing their dopamine. They are using a different kind of dopamine to override their here and now system.
Precisely. They are using the upbrain to defeat the downbrain. This is the root of all human achievement. I mean, building a skyscraper, writing a novel, getting a PhD, these are all monumental acts of controlled dopamine, suppressing the constant desire for immediate comfort in order to achieve a massive future reward.
But there's a cost to this too, isn't there? If you are always living in that controlled dopamine world of planning and abstraction, how do you treat the people around you?
Yes. This is where it gets dark again. The book makes a distinction between agentic and affiliative relationships.
Affiliative is the H&N one, right? It's about bonding.
Yes. Affiliate is, I like you, I enjoy your company, let's just hang out.
Yeah.
It has no future goal. The goal is the present moment itself.
And agentic.
Agentic is viewing the other person as an agent, as a tool, essentially, to get something done.
Like networking.
Networking is the perfect example.
Right.
I am talking to you because you know the boss, and if I impress you, I might get a promotion in the future. That is a controlled dopamine interaction. You aren't seeing the human in front of you. You're seeing a chess piece in your grand plan.
And look, we all do this to some extent. You have to be agentic to run a business or organize a project or, do this show.
Ours. It's necessary. But highly dopaminergic people, the control freaks, the workaholics, the ambitious visionaries, they can get stuck in this mode.
Yeah.
They forget how to switch it off.
They start treating their spouse like an employee. They treat their kids like projects to be managed and optimized.
They lose the ability to hang out.
Because hanging out feels inefficient. To the controlled dopamine brain, just sitting on the couch doing nothing is a waste of precious time. It's not leading to more.
It's not productive.
This detachment, this ability to turn off empathy and turn on pure calculation, this leads us directly to the chapter on domination and violence.
Yes, because here too, the authors distinguish between hot aggression and cold aggression.
Hot aggression seems pretty straightforward. That's H&N. It's reactive.
It is. You step on my toe, I scream at you. You insult my mother, I punch you. That's immediate, emotional, visceral. It happens in the here and now.
And cold aggression.
Cold aggression is dopaminergic. It's premeditated. It's calculated. It's the serial killer who plans for months. It's the general moving troops on a map like they're numbers in an equation.
The general isn't angry.
No. In fact, anger would get in the way of the strategy. To be effective at cold violence, you have to actively suppress the H&N emotions. You can't think about the soldier's mother. You can't think about the blood and the suffering. You have to focus on the abstract objective.
So controlled dopamine allows us to do truly terrible things because it allows us to abstract away the humanity of the victim.
It allows us to kill at a distance. Drone warfare is the ultimate expression of controlled dopamine. You're sitting in an air-conditioned room in Nevada, looking at a grainy screen, extra personal space, pressing a button to eliminate a target halfway across the world. You never touch them. You never smell the smoke. It is pure, disembodied upbrain.
It's incredibly powerful, but it's also terrifyingly detached. And this ability to detach from immediate reality in order to visualize something else, that's not just for violence, that's also the root of creativity.
It is. The line between the genius and the madman is incredibly thin, and according to this book, it's drawn in dopamine.
The book talks about salience. This feels like a key concept to understand this link.
Salience basically means importance. Your brain has a salience filter. Its job is to decide what you should pay attention to. Right now, there are a million sensory inputs happening around you. The hum of your computer fan, the feeling of your socks on your feet, the color of the wall in your peripheral vision.
And my brain, hopefully, is ignoring all of it to focus on what you're saying.
Right. A healthy brain has high latent inhibition. It's very good at filtering out the background garbage so you can function.
But in a high dopamine brain, like a pathologically high dopamine brain.
The filter is leaky. They have what's called low latent inhibition. All that background noise, all that data, it floods in, and everything feels salient. Everything feels important.
For a person with schizophrenia, this must be an absolute nightmare.
It's pure chaos. They look at a license plate on a car, and the numbers aren't just numbers. They feel like a secret code, a message from God. The color of a stranger's tie feels like a cosmic signal meant just for them. This is called apophenia, seeing meaningful connections where none exist.
But dial that back just 10%. Take that leaky filter, but give the person the cognitive tools to manage it.
And you get the creative genius. You get the poet who sees a profound connection between a wilting flower and a lost love. You get the physicist who sees a falling apple and somehow connects it to the orbit of the moon.
They are seeing connections that normal, well-filtered people miss because their filters are more open.
Exactly. Creativity, at its core, is the ability to take two or more unrelated things and fuse them into something new and meaningful. And that requires dopamine to bridge that abstract gap. The book calls creativity dreaming while awake.
Because in dreams, our normal, logical H&N brain shuts off.
Right. In our dreams, a cat can turn into a toaster, and it makes perfect sense. The creative genius can access that same loose associative state while they are conscious. There's the famous story of Auguste Kekulé.
The benzene ring story. Yes, this is a classic.
So he was struggling for years to figure out the structure of the benzene molecule. He knew all the atoms involved, but he couldn't figure out how they were arranged. The shape.
His logical step-by-step thinking wasn't working.
It was failing him. So one day, he sat by the fire and he dozed off. And he had a hallucination. A waking dream of a snake eating its own tail, the ancient Ouroboros symbol.
And he snapped awake and realized, it's a ring. The carbon atoms are arranged in a ring.
That is dopamine, making a massive nonlinear leap from an abstract mythological symbol to a hard chemical reality. A normal brain with high inhibition would never have made that connection. Snakes have nothing to do with chemistry, but the dopaminergic brain said, wait. Look at the shape.
But again, there's a trade-off. We talked about Einstein earlier as an example of this.
Einstein's the perfect archetype. He had incredible controlled dopamine. He could sit in a room and visualize the curvature of space-time. He loves humanity as an abstract concept. He was a pacifist, a socialist, a dreamer for a better future.
But in his actual day-to-day H&N life,
he was pretty distant. His personal relationships were notoriously messy. He struggled to connect with the individuals right in front of them. It's the telescope problem.
What's that?
If you are always looking through a telescope at the distant stars, you're going to trip over the furniture in your own living room.
That is a perfect metaphor. And speaking of tripping over things, let's wade into the minefield of politics.
The biology of ideology. This should be fun.
Now, a big disclaimer here. We are not taking sides. The authors are very clear that they are not saying one side is better or right. They are simply saying that different brains with different chemical priorities are drawn to different ideologies.
Correct. And the data they present is surprisingly consistent. It suggests that political orientation correlates very strongly with this up versus down, dopamine versus H&N split.
Let's break down the liberal profile first, according to the book.
Liberals, generally speaking, are look-up people. They are dopaminergic. Just look at the language they use. Progress, change, move forward, hope. It is all about the future.
They are novelty seekers?
Yes. In personality tests, they tend to score very high on a trait called openness to experience. They're more comfortable with complexity, with nuance, with new ideas. They want to use government, which is an abstract agentic tool, to solve large-scale systemic problems, which are abstract concepts like inequality or climate change.
And the conservative profile, by contrast.
Conservatives are look-down people. They're
Yeah.
H&N oriented. Again, look at their language. Conserve, protect, heritage, make it great again. It is all about valuing the past and the present, protecting what we have.
They value what is real and tested, not what is theoretical.
Right. And they also tend to be more sensitive to threats, which is a very here and now survival mechanism. If you hear a twig snap in the woods, the H&M brain screams, danger, while the dopamine brain might say, I wonder what that is, let's go investigate.
And this even affects how the two groups view something like charity, right?
This is a fascinating distinction the book makes. A liberal might be more inclined to support a tax hike to fund a nationwide welfare program. It's abstract and agentic. But a conservative is statistically more likely to personally donate their time or money to their local church or to help a neighbor fix their fence. It's concrete and affiliative.
One loves humanity, the other loves the neighbor.
That's a great way to put it. And the famous trolley problem study really drives this home.
Okay, remind us of the setup for that.
All right. Scenario A. A trolley is out of control. It's going to run over and kill 5 people who are tied to the track. You are standing by a lever. If you pull the lever, you can switch the trolley to a different track where it will kill only 1 person.
Almost everyone says they would pull the lever. It's a simple math problem. 5 is greater than 1.
Right. It's an abstract dopaminergic calculation. But scenario B, same runaway trolley, same 5 people on the track, but this time you're on a footbridge overlooking the track, and standing next to you is a very large man. The only way to stop the trolley is to physically push this man off the bridge and onto the tracks.
You have to touch him. You have to watch him fall.
The math is identical. 1 person dies to save 5, but most people say they cannot do it.
Why not?
Because pushing a man is a high-intensity H&N experience. It triggers a visceral emotional alarm in your brain. Do not harm another human.
But the study found that highly dopaminergic people who identify as utilitarians, were more likely to say they would push the man.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they could use their control dopamine to suppress that H&N horror. They could detach from the feeling of the push and focus on the abstract calculation of the result.
That makes them seem logical from one perspective, but also makes them seem cold and calculating from another.
And conversely, the H&N person seems compassionate in the moment, but perhaps illogical in the grand scheme. Neither is wrong. They are just operating on different neural priorities.
A healthy society probably needs both, right? You need the people pushing for the future and the people making sure we don't destroy the present to get there.
You need a gas pedal and you need brakes. If you have only gas, you drive off a cliff. If you have only brakes, you never go anywhere.
Speaking of driving off cliffs, let's talk about the United States of America. Because the book makes a pretty bold argument that America isn't just culturally different, it might be genetically different.
This is the immigrant gene theory. It's pretty provocative.
Walk us through this.
Okay, think about the act of migration, especially the kind of migration that founded the Americas. You are living in Europe or Asia or Africa. You have a home, you have a community. It might not be perfect, but it's known. It's your H&N reality.
So who leaves? Who gets on that rickety boat to cross an ocean?
The people who want more. The people who look at the horizon and think, it's got to be better over there. The people who are willing to risk everything, even death, for a possibility. That is a self-selecting group of high dopamine individuals.
And there's a specific gene variant that's been linked to this kind of behavior.
Yes, it's called DRD47R. It's a variant of a dopamine receptor gene. People who have this variant are, on average, more inclined to be novelty seekers. They're bigger risk takers. They get bored more easily.
And let me guess, this gene is more common in the Americas?
Studies suggest it is significantly more common in populations that have a long history of migration, like those in North and South America. compared to the populations that stayed behind in Europe and Asia.
So America is literally a nation founded by the restless, a nation of people who couldn't sit still.
We are a collection of the world's novelty seekers, and you can see it in our national character. The book quotes Alexis de Tocqueville, the French diplomat who visited the U.S. back in the 1800s.
I have the quote right here. He said, "Americans are restless in the midst of abundance."
That's a perfect description. He noted that Americans build a house and then sell it before the roof is even on. They plant a garden and then rent it out just as it starts to flower. They travel thousands of miles for no reason other than to shake off happiness.
Shake off happiness. That phrase just hits so hard. It implies that for a highly dopaminergic person, happiness, which is contentment, actually feels like a trap.
Contentment is the end of the chase. And for a dopamine addict, the end of the chase is a kind of mini death. So we have to keep moving, we keep building, we keep disrupting, we keep chasing more.
And this constant forward momentum, this restlessness, leads to the bipolar connection.
This is a really heavy statistic from the book. The United States has the highest rate of bipolar disorder in the developed world. And the authors argue this is probably not a coincidence.
Because bipolar is fundamentally a dopamine illness.
The manic phase of bipolar is essentially controlled dopamine, completely unchained. It is pure energy, pure confidence, pure future planning gone into overdrive. People in a manic state feel like they can do anything. They start multiple companies, they write symphonies, they sleep 2 hours a night because they have so many ideas.
And then they inevitably crash.
They crash into a devastating depression. But that manic energy, that is the engine of American innovation and exceptionalism. We are, in a way, a bipolar nation. We have these incredible highs, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, the moon landing, and these incredible destructive lows. We are brilliant and we are unstable.
Which brings us to the final existential question of the book. Can we keep doing this?
The more problem.
Dopamine evolved to help us survive in a world of scarcity. If you were a hunter-gatherer and you found a fruit tree, you ate as much as you possibly could. You didn't say, "Oh, I should watch my figure."
No, because there was no too much.
Yeah.
You stored it as fat because you didn't know when you'd eat next.
But now, we live in a world of unimaginable abundance, and our dopamine circuits have no stop button.
They just scream more. More food leads to obesity, more spending leads to debt, more drugs lead to addiction, and more economic growth leads to environmental collapse.
Then more weapons.
Nuclear weapons are the ultimate terrifying expression of controlled dopamine. We used our abstract intelligence to master the fundamental force of the universe itself. In Oppenheimer's words, we became destroyers of worlds.
We have the up brain to build the bomb, but do we have the down brain, the H&N empathy, to resist using it?
That is the terror, isn't it? Dopamine allows us to innovate ourselves into extinction. It pushes us to consume everything in the extrapersonal space until there is no peripersonal space left to enjoy.
So we're doomed. Is that the final message? That seems pretty bleak.
No. Thankfully, that is not the message at all. The last chapter is about harmony.
Okay, good. Because we don't want to kill our dopamine, right?
No, absolutely not. Without dopamine, we are that starving rat. We'd just sit there. We'd have no art, no science, no progress. We'd be content, but we'd be stagnant.
So what's the solution? What's the path to harmony?
The solution the authors propose is mastery, and they use this word very, very specifically.
How does mastery differ from just, success?
Success is achieving a future goal. That's a dopamine win. Mastery is the process of using dopamine to deepen and enrich the H&N experience.
Okay, give me an example.
Think of a master woodworker or a world-class cellist. To get that good, they needed massive amounts of controlled dopamine. They had to practice boring scales for thousands of hours. They had to plan. They had to discipline themselves, delaying gratification for years.
All up-brain stuff.
All up-brain. But when they are performing, when the cellist is actually playing the Bach cello suites, they aren't thinking about the future. They are completely immersed in the sound. They are feeling the vibration of the strings through their fingertips. You're strengthening the H&N muscle. You are teaching your brain that the present moment has value in and of itself, that it's not just a stepping stone to the future.
And hobbies. Real tactile hobbies.
Yes, not video games, which are often just pure dopamine loops of reward prediction error, but things like woodworking, knitting, cooking, gardening, things where you have to plan and use your up brain, but also touch and feel and taste and smell with your down brain. You are actively mixing the chemicals.
It's like mixing carbon and iron to make steel. Each one alone is weaker.
Precisely. You become a more balanced, more durable human being.
So let's wrap this up. We've been on a huge journey today, from a bakery to the bedroom to the ballot box.
It's a lot to process. This molecule is everywhere.
If there is one big takeaway for the listener, what do you think it is?
For me, it's the redefinition of happiness. We grow up in a society that teaches us happiness is getting what we want. If I get the promotion, then I'll be happy. If I get the car, then I'll be happy.
But we've learned today that that's the dopamine lie.
It's a lie. That feeling is excitement. That is anticipation. True happiness, contentment, satisfaction, joy is a here and now experience. It's an H&N chemical state. You cannot pursue happiness because the act of pursuit is up and happiness itself is down. You can only experience happiness.
You have to stop running to feel the wind on your face.
I like that a lot, yes.
So here is our final thought, our challenge to you, the listener. We live in a dopamine society. Everything, our phones, our economy, our culture, is designed to make you look up. Look at the next click, the next purchase, the next goal.
We are swimming in it every day. It's the water we're in.
So take a moment today to rebel. Look down. Look at the people in your life, not as agents to help you achieve a goal, but as humans to enjoy right now. Look at your coffee cup. Look at your own two hands.
And master your molecules. Don't let them master you.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.